Hello everyone, this is Bridget Aduaje from Theogony, the TC Williams student-run media organization. Welcome to another episode of TC Female Legends, where we bring back past TC female alumni and we showcase where they've gone to and what they're doing in their careers. This is our series for Women's History Month, where we look back on the contributions that women have made to modern, contemporary, and historical society. With me, I have Rupa Patel, who is an associate for Thornton Tomasetti, Khadija Tipu, who is a lawyer at Sutter and Turpak, and Shade Rickett, who works for Eat Good Group. Can you tell me a little bit about what you did after TC and whether or not you went to university or
Well, after
what you
TC,
studied?
I went to Johnson & Wales University, Charlotte. It was their first year opening. And I stayed there for 2 years and got my associate's degree. I would have stayed for the bachelor's, but they were wary of hiring culinary students at the time because we were new and they're like, we don't want temporary people. So instead I left and I started working at a catering company.
Khadija, can you tell me about what you do at your job and as well as what you did after TC shortly after you graduated?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with what I did after TC. I went to George Mason, got my undergraduate degree in government, international politics, and economics. And then after that, I went to Howard Law.
Oh, wow.
And then I just finished in May of 2018.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I took the bar, got done with that in July. And then I just started my first job last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
a lot.
what I've done since last week is the firm does employment law, personal injury, and traffic. And so right now I'm just like getting the gist of things, like working on like new cases. I went to court for the first time yesterday on my own, but I just like got a date moved, so I'm just starting off little, but that's like what I'll be doing, like employment law, like discrimination, and workers' compensation, personal injury, and traffic.
And then Rupa?
So after TC, I went to the University of Virginia. I got my bachelor's and my master's degrees in civil engineering with my main focus was structural engineering. After I graduated with my master's, I moved back up to DC and worked for an structural engineering firm in Rockville, Maryland. So at that firm, I did basically new design, which is I designed a whole bunch of buildings. I left there in 2015 to work for Thornton Tomasetti, where I actually immediately after I got hired, I moved to New Zealand for a few years. So I just got back from New Zealand. I was there helping with all the structural engineering work from the earthquakes that happened in 2010. So after I got back, I moved back to DC, where I really started working for the DC office of Thornton Tomasetti, and now my main role is to build our forensics and property loss practices, which are basically where we investigate any kind of damage that's occurred to a building. We investigate either the cause and origin of it, we investigate what was damaged, and then what we need to do to fix it.
Rupa, can you tell me about your experience working in engineering and the male-dominated stuff in that?
Yeah, I could talk about this for hours. So for me, it's had its pros and cons. I get emails addressed to Mr. Patel all the time. People just assume that you must be a guy, especially if you don't have an easily recognizable name. There are times even now where I walk into a meeting with a male colleague who's 15 years younger than me, and people talk to him because they assume that he's the engineer. I've had clients ask me if I was going to take something back to the office so that an engineer could look at them. They assume that I'm not an engineer. I think my biggest struggle is having mentors, female mentors in my industry, because engineering is a good old boys club, just like the culinary field. It's a good old boys club. It's run by the male domination in our industry. And so a lot of the men tend to mentor other men without even realizing it. A lot of times it's subconscious, or they just, they hang out with their bros or the people that they get along with better and can relate to better. And so they naturally get the mentoring that a lot of the women don't get. And so if you aren't able to build those connections, which, let's face it, in this day and age, it's hard to build those connections, especially with members of the opposite sex, then you sort of end up at a little bit of a disadvantage.
You talk about, your struggle to find mentorship among other females. Speaking of that, how do you try to elevate other women and represent other women in your work?
So I'm glad you asked. I actually, coincidentally, this year, so my company is, it's a pretty big firm. It's 1,500 people, over 30, 35 offices. I probably should know that. And so we have a company-wide Women at TT group. And so our office has a local DC chapter. And this year, one of my colleagues and I are the coordinators for our chapter. So I'm really excited because I'm really happy that I have an opportunity to share with other women engineers all the things that I wish someone had told me when I was at their level. And we have actually a female office director who's very supportive of us. So that's really, like, that's an added bonus that, like, we have her support. So in our organization, we have monthly meetings. So we get to pick topics of things that the ladies want to hear about, of things that we think we want to share. From everything like leadership strategies, career development, public speaking, all kinds of topics. So it's a great opportunity, I think, for me to be able to give back to people the things that I wish I had learned, and just for the women in general to have that resource.
Khadijah, what resources and opportunities at TC really helped you to deepen your interest in law?
Yeah, so I would say my coursework, but more specifically the electives that I was able to pick. While I was at TC, I was able to take criminal justice and able to take business law. And at that age, I realized that those two areas of law weren't areas that I wanted to go into. But, you know, learning law, and I mean, I still stand by that. Like, I don't want to go into criminal law and business law, but having Miss Golden as a teacher, you know, I was able to realize even through the criminal law that I didn't like things that I did like in the legal field. And she also made us do a project where we did like what we wanted to do when we grew up, and like we had to like answer like questions about like what it's like and how you get to that point. And so that got me thinking, and that helped. And also senior experience. So instead of, you guys have that?
Yeah,
so I have to
we still
explain
have
it. So
it.
yeah, I did it at a firm, and that reinforced my interest. So I would have to say my electives, senior experience, and having teachers that make you think about your future.
And Shade, what resources and teachers at TC allowed you to deepen your interest in culinary arts?
I think I did it for a couple of years, but there was a culinary arts program here with Chef Dorsey at the time. And once a week, the teachers could, I don't know if they had to pay or they just signed up. We cooked for them. So it's like we did like a mock dinner service or something. So that was really cool and fun to do.
Okay. What project or accomplishment do you believe to be the most significant in your career, Shade?
Which project or accomplishment? I guess just going to college.
No, tell me more.
I was battling between like psychology and culinary, and I chose culinary because I've always been a very self-dependent person. My parents raised us that way. I just wanted to do something different and not like be behind myself and like put myself out there. So I challenged myself by going to cooking school. It was also my first time being away from home in a different state. So it was a good experience.
Khadijah, what accomplishment or projects do you believe to be most significant, either in law school or in your career?
As far as law school, I would have to say graduating and passing the bar. Those were two really tough experiences. Yeah. And as far as my career, it's been like a week, but I'd have to say stepping out of my comfort zone. I didn't see myself doing that as soon as I have, and I think it's because of the atmosphere I'm in. Like two examples. One, the attorney that's like my supervising attorney right now, he was out for lunch and some clients came to see him for a consultation, and the secretary called him and he was like, have Khadijah do it. Wow. And I was like in the office like scratching my head like, should I? Like, no, I shouldn't. I don't even know how to do it. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna do it. Even if I like don't do it right, it's not a big deal. And I did it. And then for yesterday, Monday, when I went to court, they asked me if I wanted to go by myself or if I needed them to come. And it's like so in my nature to be like, oh yeah, come with me. But I was like, you know what, like, I want to step out of my comfort zone. I can do it. It's not that big of a deal. And I did it. So I'm really happy with how comfortable I am with stepping out of my comfort zone, because has not been me. So I'm glad I'm able to do that.
What impact do you hope to have in the culinary arts industry?
I'm currently in school again.
Oh, you are.
Getting my psychology major, my second love. And I want to combine them. I want to create like a place for the youth to a different type of therapy instead of just sitting and talking about your feelings, because I remember that as a kid and that was not comfortable. But like involving cooking and getting them to do something that it's also they can learn a trade, but they're also opening up and getting comfortable and used to it. So hopefully one day I can combine my two passions.
And Khadijah, what do you hope to have your impact on in law?
I'd hope to leave the field, the industry, much more diverse than when I entered it, because our legal system and judicial system needs a lot of work. And there's policies and regulations and laws that aren't really just. And oftentimes people from diverse backgrounds are the ones at the short end of that stick. And so to bring diverse voices and minds at the table and help and gives them a voice and a seat at the table and let them, you know, from their experiences and know that, you know, these kinds of laws affect people like us, and gives them an opportunity to, you know, make those changes.
And Rupa?
Well, I'm lucky. My company makes us put together goals every year as part of our performance reviews, so we have to focus on them to some extent. But in terms of staying motivated or inspired, I think I go back to a quote that I don't know where I heard it, so I don't know if there's any copyright issues, but it basically said, fear failure, not quitting. And it kind of just reminds me that as long as I don't walk away, then I'm doing okay, regardless of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Khadijah, what advice do you have for current TC students who want to go into law?
I would say a few things. One, don't doubt yourself / know your self-worth. Two, do your research. You know, look at people who are in places that you would like to be in someday. Reach out to them and ask them and get to know where they were when they were your age or at your place in life, you know, so that you know what steps you need to take. Get from them what steps they took, what challenges they had, what they wish they had known. Ask them these things. People love talking about themselves and their success and this and that. So, you know, if you reach out to someone, say, hey, I really like this, you're doing this, I'd hope to do this one day, pretty sure they would be receptive to it. And then the third thing, specifically for girls and women, you know, don't let someone make you feel like there are other things that are more important in your life if you wish to, you know, have a higher education. Don't let them tell you, well, what about time for family and kids and this and that, because that can all happen together. But, you know, just know that you can do it. And women are getting higher education at a higher rate than men. And so they should know that they can do it and that this world is theirs.
Shade, what advice do you have for current TC students who want to go into culinary arts?
I would just work hard. Know your self-worth, obviously. Research the chef. Make sure it's a place you actually want to be in. Don't be stagnant. I've had many jobs where, because I'm a woman, I can only do salads or desserts. Like stand up for yourself and like make sure your hard work is being noticed.
And that's all that we have for today. This is TC Female Legends. I'm Bridget Aduaje, and thanks for watching.